right. Welcome back to CXQA Live, the show where we have the opportunity to speak with talented thought leaders and discuss the importance of the most valuable asset in your contact center, the agent. For those of you listening to this discussion via our Recorded for Quality Assurance podcast, we'd like to remind you that we host these sessions live every Tuesday at noon Eastern time. So if you've got a burning question about CX that you need answered, make sure to register and add your voice to the conversation. Here on CXQA Live, we believe that agents with the right tools, training, and connection with your company will be a revenue growth and protection center for your brand. They'll be the best diagnostic tool you have for your business. They will ensure that your customers are satisfied and connected. They'll produce more and better work, and they'll actually want to stay and contribute to the well-being of your company. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest with us today. I am joined by Adam Saad with Tech Stack Advising. Adam, I am so excited to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Jacob. Really happy to be here. As you know, I've been in contact center for almost a decade. I joke to my clients that I was born in the cloud, and I'll spare everyone my bad impression of Bane from Batman there. Personally, I've done over $80 million of contact center software transactions, focusing on choosing the right technology for different use cases and the culture of the business, ensuring there's a business case and return on investment related to these technologies and to these digital transformations. My background before getting into contact center, my education is in finance and consulting. So getting down and dirty and Excel and analyzing return on investment is my idea of a fun Friday night, which is embarrassing to say out loud.
Is it embarrassing because you use Excel and not Sheets, or is it embarrassing because of the finance aspect?
Excel forever.
Oh man, you're a Microsoft fanboy. Man, we might have to cut the episode right here.
That's it.
Yeah, but you know what, man? Buying software is not a simple process. So the fact that you've gotten into this is amazing. Software is difficult because there's thousands of solutions out there, and when it comes to integrating new tech into your existing processes, you always have to account for things like implementation, the new training that your staff's going to have to undergo in order to use the product effectively, and the very real possibility of increasing your process debt. So Adam, as you've stated, no stranger to the contact center. You've got plenty of experience behind you. So you've been in the thick of it for quite a while. So who would better understand the intricacies of how these call center solutions work? And on that note, today we are unpacking how, why, and what types of software contact center leaders should be investing in. So, Adam, how can brands see the return on investment when investing in new software?
Oh, all right. That's a big question. So ROI, return on investment, it's such a broad term. We can probably find ROI almost anywhere you want across different departments and different use cases. But I think now here in 2023, with everything that's happening in the macro environment, today more than ever, organizations are charged to do more with less. We're all getting squeezed. Finance is squeezing us. IT, every department is getting squeezed across the board again to do more with less. So efficiency is usually top of mind alongside growth. So kind of let's boil it down probably to the two most important ROI metrics for CFOs today related to contact center software in general. So number one, it's going to be human capital efficiency. So how can we improve the output of our contact center with less and or more efficient humans? And if we can increase the output with less humans, obviously there's a cost savings there from a human capital perspective. The other aspect that people don't talk about as much, probably because it's harder to understand, is increasing the customer lifetime value by reducing customer churn. So for those who don't understand or know exactly what LTV is, or customer lifetime value, that can be defined as the total amount of money a customer is expected to spend with your business during the lifetime of your average business relationship. So that part is key, the lifetime of the business relationship. So if we can reduce churn, then inherently customers will stay with us longer, which means they'll spend money with us longer, which means that our revenue will increase. So that's what your CFO, when you can go to your CFO and start talking about LTV, your CFO's ears are going to perk up and tell me more about that, because LTV is a direct representation of revenue and overall enterprise valuation. And then if we want to kind of take a little bit of a turn towards looking at contact center for agent experience, it's all about reducing human capital related to turnover. We all know that contact centers have insane turnover rates. Just an hour ago, I was talking to a customer that had 300% agent turnover in their contact center, and they're paying agents a lot of money. So what is the cause of this turnover? And what we found is that agent turnover can oftentimes be attributed to bad software, swivel chairing across 7 different applications to solve customer issues. The applications are using are terrible, antiquated, built 20 plus years ago. So if we can think about how we can create better experiences for the agent, it'll mean better experiences for the customer, increase LTV, lower turnover. What I like to say is better ingredients, better CX. I stole it from Papa John's a little bit.
A little bit. That's, you made some minor alterations to that motto. We'll be talking about that, I'm sure, later on in the episode. But yeah, something that's always interesting to me is ROI. You're right, is a very broad term. And I don't think we talk about human capital enough. I think we're so focused on how it's going to impact revenue directly. And it's driving me crazy right now, the amount of turnover that's happening in contact centers. All the time on the show here, we talk about these little Facebook groups where agents are, these different communities where you'll find CX leaders, and they just talk about either how much they hate their jobs and they don't want to do this anymore and they don't feel like they're being appreciated, or you have the leaders that are saying, I keep losing my agents and I don't know what to do. And for some reason, it's really tanking like our finances right now. So I'm so glad you bring up the topic of human capital, because I feel like that's something that's very under talked about. I don't know if that's a word or a phrase, but we've just made it a phrase now. So, the thing is, it's not always about the money, even though it is, right? At the end of the day, it's how can I save money for my business? And basically what we're talking about is using agent-centric software, using software that can equip the agents to help them provide your customers with more seamless or simpler experiences, to really just take away the stress of all the work that needs to be done, and have a solution that can just turn the tried and true and painful phone call from a customer to an agent, or not even a phone call. There's software out there that you can integrate with text, email, chatbots. Nobody likes to use self-service tools. I know that's a dangerous thing to say. This is a little hitting close to home to me. I'll tell you a story. I actually just went to a fast food restaurant a few days ago, and they had one of the self-serve kiosks there. And I had used one in the past. I didn't have an issue with it, but I went in and all the employees were scrambling around in the kitchen, doing whatever, putting orders together. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. They have these self-serve kiosks. So if I don't want to talk to anybody, I can just use this kiosk. Well, no, they force you to use the kiosk. And as a customer, when I feel like I'm being forced to do something and you're complicating my interaction there, that's going to make me not to want to come back to your place of business and do business with you. And in the same sense, I feel like when it comes to software, you'll have a lot of software that simplifies the customer experience on the opposite end, right? But not the agent experience. And that's why it's so important to, instead of maybe investing in that new shiny AI tool, you look more for a tool that's able to easily re-educate your teams on how to use it, maybe train them while you use it, and just at the end of the day, give them a software that makes it so much easier for them, so it simplifies the process for the customer as well. So Adam, what do you think is one of the most difficult yet important factors when somebody's deciding on what software to implement?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I want to come to that question, but before we do it, I want to touch on something you said about self-service and agent experience. By the
Yeah,
way, I'm part of the Facebook groups too that you're a part of, the call center agent rants, and I like to see
yeah,
what the agents are complaining about. And by the way, they all complain about customers. They complain about
absolutely.
customers the most.
Yep.
We can't change how your end customer is going to treat your agents. We can't control that. So really what I tell my customers to do or advise them to do is focus on the things you can control. If the agent experience is a pie and 50% of the agent experience, or maybe 80% of the agent experience has something to do with your end customer, which we can't control, and we want to improve the agent experience, let's focus on what we can control. That's the environment they're in. That's the team camaraderie. That's the software they use to handle customer inquiries. So again, we can't focus on what the customer will do, but let's focus on what we can control. If turnover is a big issue, let's analyze what we can control and let's make their lives better where we can. And inherently, we all know that's going to reduce turnover. So really, really interesting topic there. Now, in regards to deciding what software to implement, oh man, we could take this a number of ways. Interestingly enough, recently, I polled over 1,000 C-level executives on the question around how do they make decisions on software? What are their fears around software? We know that so many digital transformations fail. And one of the biggest fears in our survey that C-levels expressed with software is the concept of shelfware. So for those who don't know what shelfware is, it basically, how much software did we buy that we're not using, AKA sitting on the shelf? So organizations, when considering new software, whatever it is, need to fully prepare for how they're going to implement the software. And you need to build a comprehensive adoption plan to ensure you're getting the most out of your investment, right? And every salesperson is going to hate that I'm going to say this, but every vendor and salesperson is going to want to sell you the highest, most robust, most expensive package, because guess what? You told them you wanted all these features. But what we advise our clients to do is opt for the lower feature, less robust version and upgrade, have plans to upgrade into the bigger versions as you adopt the software. So crawl, that it's the famous crawl, walk, run, right? So start slow, adopt. Once you've hit your capacity of adoption, then upgrade, grow into the software rather than buying the holy cow package with every single bell and whistle, because you won't adopt it. And that's why your C-suite is not approving your projects, other than not having a good business case, but they're worried about adoption.
Yeah, and I think you're right. That's something that we don't talk about enough, is this concept of shelfware. I have previously shared with you that I have been exposed to a lot of software just sitting on the shelf and not being utilized because I felt like I could do my job better without it. And when I would try to go to management about that, it was, well, no, I mean, it works for everybody else. It's like, yeah, but everybody else could be doing it in a different way and be saving money. So I think it's important that we invest in software where it's very easy to understand. There's so much value in simplicity. And I love that you talk about the big package, right? And that's what salespeople will sell you on. They want to sell you on the most features. But there's a time tested, it's so true, and I still believe it today. You have the concept of the jack of all trades, the master of none, and then you have like the one that just specializes in it. I used to think jack of all trades was a great expression. I was like, oh, well, if you're a jack of all trades, you can do absolutely anything that you want. And the master of none part doesn't really matter, but it does. If I'm going to purchase software for my team, let's say I'm running a call center, I understand that there is a lot of research and a lot of the buyer's journey that I've already gone through and looking to help build a tech stack. And if I'm looking for another piece of software to add, I want to add it into my existing stack. I don't want to buy a siloed solution where now I have to find a way to make all three of these work together, even though they're not really that compatible with one another. It might involve me throwing up another screen at my workstation or opening up a whole new window. Open API is a fantastic thing. Having a solution that has open API would be great to help integrate into a pre-existing stack, so you don't have to re-educate your team. I guess to sum that all up, there's always this concern I mentioned earlier about process debt. And process debt is any debt that you can take on from your processes. It's self-explanatory. So in the same essence of shelfware being software that you don't use, it's any part of that software that you're not utilizing properly, that is your process debt. So you talk about these softwares where you start small, the whole crawl, walk, and run mentality. I use Apollo. Apollo is a great tool. I would recommend it for anybody doing an outbound campaign. Personally, we found a lot of success through Apollo, and they have a genius model. You can start for free, and then you can go into any paid tier that you want, depending on what your need is. The part where it gets tricky is when you're selling enterprise, because how many, just out of curiosity, we're kind of going off the cuff here, Adam. How many enterprise solutions are you aware of that will offer that same kind of freemium model?
I mean, a lot of them do, but it's not, it's almost a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can, it depends if you want to consider HubSpot an enterprise solution, but HubSpot has freemium, product-led kind of growth.
Yeah.
Intercom was product-led growth for quite a while. I mean, you can even get different types of Salesforce licenses for free. Salesforce is the enterprise grade solution platform on the market. You can get it, but it really is a Trojan horse to get you into a paid version. You're not going to be successful with the free version until you start putting time, effort, money, and resources into adopting it and configuring it the proper way. So yeah. I don't think I kind of get where you're going. Is like for enterprise, the freemium doesn't necessarily work. The use cases are typically too great, too complex. The user base is too great, too complex. I mean, what we have our clients do is we push for POCs as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I think that's such a smart move on your part. So I love, perfect answer, right? I mean, we're a software vendor. We sell enterprise software, but you can't really go freemium with us. So it's
wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's tricky. But
yeah, I mean, it's time, effort, money, and resources to make the freemium version work. And then, I think I heard a stat from Amazon Connect, right? So, this is perfect example. So Amazon Connect in our space and contact center, under 6% of the free versions turn into paying customers. Under 6%.
Wow.
This is a platform that's touted as developer friendly. You can build whatever you want on Amazon Connect. It's totally open. 6% make it to paid from free. Is there room for, can you successfully go from a free model to a paid model? If Amazon can't do it, can anyone?
Hey, that is a fantastic question. Speaking of, right, while we're talking about large companies such as Amazon, you did happen to quote, and I wasn't going to let this go. I had to bring this up. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. But I believe your alteration was better ingredients, better CX. So I'm assuming, and I want you to unpack this for me a little bit. Help me understand two things. Why the Papa John's analogy? And two, before we get into that, it really reminded me of what we say all the time. We talk about the Philadelphia cows, right? The happier cows make happier milk. So happier agents will make happier customers. So you have a better experience overall. So why Papa John's? And unpack what you mean specifically by having those better ingredients to create better CX.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I just love Papa John's pizza. It's probably my number one favorite food, and which is pretty disgusting because it's not healthy. But better ingredients, better CX. So the ingredients of customer experience you can break down into people, process, and technology. Better people, better CX. Better process, better CX. Better technology, better CX. But they're not mutually independent. They're mutually dependent on each other. So a better people, process, and technology all working together as ingredients will equal a better CX.
Or a more delicious pizza, so to speak. And
Some Papa John's.
now I want Papa John's. Man, this is horrible.
We all do.
Yeah. But I kind of want to recap everything that we've talked, because we've covered quite a few different points here. This is honestly just the beginning for changing up your CX. We joke about the happy cows and the better ingredients, but the beautiful thing about focusing on your call center agents is you are now tapping into what I like to call, and I'm sure a lot of people would call, untapped potential. There's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of beliefs, there's a lot of opportunity. And, you know, I'm a big culture guy. I'm a huge community guy. I love community. I will always praise community. Even when you have those communities like we talked about with the call center rants, or the call center agent rants, there are still diamonds in the rough where you see these agents that are realizing, you know what, maybe it's not always the customer that's the issue. Maybe our processes are broken. And whenever I see that, that is just, it's a very touching moment for me, because it's like, this person is seeing their potential, right? I'm sure that there have been jobs that you have worked where you feel like you've been a bit underappreciated. I think we all have. I don't think that's exclusive to just me and you. I think being a call center agent is one of those jobs. I talked about this ways back with a good friend of mine, Jacob Shields, where we talked about how nobody wants to be a call center agent, because all you do is you act as a human punching bag. You take in all these calls from grumpy customers and they just yell at you to feel better, which is terrible. But when I was talking to Jacob, with a C, we're not the same person, I promise. When I was talking to Jacob, he said, one of the things we like to do is laugh. And you've always heard that laughter is the best medicine. But even though that sounds so simple and dumb to some people, I'm sure, it really is incredible how taking an experience where you have an agent that's getting yelled at and then say, you know what, let's focus on the good that happened. We're going to laugh that off. Here's a funny meme of a cat. I don't know. But to try and change that whole experience around to make that agent have a positive experience probably motivated that agent to get back and say, okay, you know what, that was a bad call, but we're going to get on the next one and we're going to do it. And you have this culture that's developing, that's being created by these CX leaders, that's being carried on throughout the call center by the agents. Agents are the lifeblood of the contact center. It's corny to say. It's the same thing as saying the contact center is not a cost center, right? You see that all the time on LinkedIn. But yeah, there's so much potential that your agents have, and not only for like the culture aspect or the community aspect, but tapping into making more powerful agents, making them more comfortable with the processes that they're going through, making their workload easier, creating almost these super agents in a way, so you can cut down on maybe needing like 10,000 agents to handle phone calls. You could cut that down a little bit, because now you have agents that know what the best practices are, and they can train those agents coming up on what best practices are. And in the end, you will be able to create more efficient, a more efficient workforce by creating more and more agents that way. But it's a beautiful thing to see how you can create this just community that perpetuates and this culture that perpetuates through the call center. And you take this thing that was once viewed as this necessary evil, right? Another stereotype for the call center, and truly turn it into like a profit center. And I'm sure you have some prior experience with that as well. I'm sure you've seen that firsthand. Would you mind sharing any story you may have there?
Yeah, actually pretty interesting. So I'm working with a regional bank, a pretty decent sized regional bank, and they have long been viewed as a cost center. Doing some research on the company and discovery, talking to executives, looking at they're publicly traded, so looking at their investor deck. Their number one priority was to grow deposit. Number two priority was to increase the amount of mortgages they doled out. And so talking to the contact center, all we did was alter their script a little bit and just asked customers just one question: would you like to open up another savings account? And one script change. How long did it take me to say that? 3-second question: would you like to open up another savings account? We increased savings accounts by over 20% in the contact center.
Wow.
Just by asking one question: would you like to? So when we talk about the contact center being a strategic asset to a company, understand what your company wants to do and see how your contact center can help meet those goals. It's one simple question.
Sometimes that's all it takes, right? And like you said, it took 3 seconds to ask that question. And it kind of makes you wonder, well, how else what other questions can I ask to help increase revenue there too? I mean, that's insane. A 3-second question and revenue increase and savings accounts increased by 20%.
Yeah.
That's
unreal. I mean, there was a lot that went into it, right? So there was,
Yeah.
analytics and identifying, who to ask, right? So we were able to identify that if the customer had XYZ 1, 2, 3 demographic variables, then they had XYZ% likelihood to need another deposit account. So we said, okay, let's bring that data to the forefront. Let's make it easily digestible for the customer service agent. The script would only pop up the question if the customer had that demographic data. And so the agents wouldn't even have to think about it. The script was dynamic enough. Boom, there we go. We asked the question: increase net deposit accounts. Unreal. Again, there was a lot that went into it, but it was just, hey, let's figure out how the contact center can help the organization with its strategic objectives by asking one more question.
And that's again, we've said it's insane, but it
was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun to say, oh, okay, guys, the contact center, we can do this. We can be the catalyst that drives more, marketing and sales and, all the top of the funnel departments want to be the ones or are usually tasked with getting, growing the business.
Yeah.
Did you know that the contact center can also do it, right? Every MBA, I have an MBA. Every MBA wants to say, it costs more to acquire customers than it does to keep them for longer and upsell them. Every MBA wants to say that, but no one wants to do anything about it. But we in the contact center have this amazing opportunity to leverage our existing customers to sell them more.
Yeah.
But it all starts with a good experience.
Yeah.
A good experience starts with better people, process, technology.
Right. It's all about just creating that perfect foundation, create that better experience for the agent, carry that better experience along for the customer.
And guys, if no one wants to believe in the kumbaya of having more happy agents and hand-holding and good culture and empathy, if no one wants to have that kumbaya, I challenge you to just analyze the cost of turnover in your organization and just put it in dollars and cents. If I reduce turnover by 1%, how much less does my organization have to spend on recruiting, hiring, training, HR, managing agents? Just make this dollars and cents. We don't have to do it for kumbaya and culture. Just do it for your bottom line. Your CFO will appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Adam, we have actually come to time already. That flew by completely. I feel like we had a fantastic discussion, and what a perfect note to close on. Makes sense, right? Sense with a C.
Wow, I see what you did there. Good job.
Makes sense of the kumbaya.
That's right.
No, Adam, seriously, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the episode. I really hope we can have you on more. I feel like you get to tackle this from a very unique perspective than most of the people we talk to. We talk to a lot of contact center leaders, but to talk to somebody who's a contact center veteran and also does advising for contact centers and their software, I think that's a great opportunity for you too, to not only get more involved with contact centers and understand their processes more, but maybe add your voice to the conversation and say, hey, I know what I'm talking about, guys. I've been doing this for years and years and years. So would love to have you back on the show sometime.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, really the difference between, me and people that are in contact centers managing their own contact centers, I get exposure to hundreds of contact centers a year. I see the Under Armours of the world. I see the AstraZenecas of the world. I see the Zappos of the world. I see all these different brands all in a year. And I see what is done well, what's done bad, what's done in the middle, and how these brands are improving. So if you ever want to stack yourself against other brands, I have that kind of perspective.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you having me on. I had a blast.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could come again, man. Really appreciate it. Guys, thanks again so much for tuning in for another fantastic episode of CXQA Live. Reminder, if you're listening on the podcast, we do record these sessions every Tuesday at noon. So if you want to have a question answered live while we record these things, come on and stop by, throw a question in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. But y'all are awesome. We hope you have a fantastic day. Make sure you go do something great. We'll see ya.
Thank you.